All right, welcome everyone. We're getting started a couple minutes early, like we always do. We wanted to make sure that we give everyone a chance to hop on. So, give us 2 minutes, and we'll start this thing for real. But I was gonna ask you, Gerardo. You just before you said you're just outside of LA. Are you a Lakers guy? Did you see that game last night?
Unfortunately, I didn't. No, I actually haven't seen any sports during this whole thing.
Oh
We're
my
kind of,
gosh!
it's been kind of hard. I know that we had a couple of wins all last year, but like most people dealing with the pandemic. I mean, you have staff, you don't have staff. I go home, I'm tired. I'm not.
I hear
I
you.
wasn't
I
watching
hear you.
TV.
I hear you. Yeah, it's like I got I got a life. I don't need to be in front of a TV. It's
Yeah, I
so
got to kick my
crazy though.
feet.
I find it so interesting though that this is why I'm not making 8 figures a year, but like I would have thought that there'd be serious issues in dealerships when COVID hit, and it's the opposite. It's really cool.
Yeah, we had serious issues for like a sec, right? Right
Yeah,
when the
yeah,
the initial scare happened, where everybody knew somebody who knew somebody that knew somebody at the Pentagon, and they were going to shut down the country, right? That was the
right.
whole thing that was going around. And of course, once they started enforcing people staying at home, the stay-at-home rules, yeah, it was scary there for a sec, but we rebounded within like 2-3 months.
Well, that's good.
And the parts end on our end, we really felt it for about 2 weeks, and then after that, it was just back to normal. And then obviously with online, we were just zooming.
Yeah, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. And the topic that we're going to talk about obviously helps when you're
Yeah.
talking about that, right? So welcome everyone. Let's just jump right in. I'm going to be facilitating this, but you're not going to hear much from me. But before we begin, I wanted to kind of go over a couple of the typical, kind of housekeeping items we always do. We're using Zoom for this. There's a toolbar at the bottom of Zoom. You hover over that, and you can see a couple of ways to interact with us. One way is chat. The other way is Q&A. We'll take any questions, either format, whatever is easiest for you. Go ahead and let us know as we're going through this. And in addition, we are going to be emailing this out to anybody who registered for this broadcast. So expect it in your inbox if you want to kind of review it with your team, or you have questions that maybe you want to go into a little deeper. So it will go out to everybody. We'll also put it on the community so you can look at it there. So without further ado, Mike, why don't you kick this off and introduce your special guest, I guess, and let's get through this.
Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about parts pricing for profit, margin versus volume strategies. I'm Mike Rich. I'm the director of marketing here at Revolution Parts. We have one of our very successful dealers, Gerardo, with Longo Toyota today. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, Gerardo?
Certainly. Yeah. I've been at Longo Toyota. I'm one of the parts managers here. When I came into parts, I've been with the automotive industry for about 19 years in service, administration, recruiting, sales, and now parts. In the last 3 years, I've been in the parts department, and I've been fortunate enough to help kick off our, e-commerce. So it's been successful, and obviously we've had Revolution Parts with us since the beginning. So I'm happy to give anything that I can give.
Awesome. We appreciate you joining us. Our agenda for today, so everyone knows, we're going to be talking about the top selling channels for e-commerce, some of the most important e-commerce KPIs, over the counter versus e-commerce margins, determining e-commerce margins and pricing, how to talk to your boss about the margin difference, and then just how to maximize profits through volume. The top selling channels, of course, there's two big ones, Amazon and eBay, that we all know about. These are the marketplaces, Amazon being the largest. There's about $1.9 billion in OEM parts sold in 2020 through Amazon. So a huge marketplace, a little bit smaller, but eBay is also very popular for automotive parts. We see about a car or truck part sold every 2 seconds on eBay. With Amazon and eBay, you're a little bit at the whim of those channels, where you have to, pay their fee to play. A lot of our dealers actually use their own web store, What that means is you have your website, you control the pricing, but you also control the marketing there. So you have to build your audience. Gerardo, could you talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing across those three channels?
So when we initially started, we only had our website, and obviously we were getting started. We needed to figure out what was our niche. How are we going to work this into our business model? As we became more confident, then we added on eBay, and eBay has done well. We started seeing some more sales there, and then of course we turned on Amazon, and it was like the floodgates opened because there you started selling a lot more. Now there are certain things that we can't control on Amazon and eBay, such as their fees, and they have a very structured way of how they're going to do returns, sales, and communications, which helps in certain regards. But overall, we like using our web store because just kind of the reasons that you mentioned, we can control how we communicate and the level of service that we provide. Whereas with Amazon and eBay, they are great channels. We sell quite a bit with them, and it's very structured. So there's pros and cons to both.
Cool. Is there a different pricing strategy you take on the different channels, or different parts you may focus on Amazon or eBay versus what you're doing on your web store?
No, not for us, not right now. We'd like to get to that point, but right now what we're doing is we're just trying to make sure that all channels are even, and then we're just seeing where we sell more. Amazon, we sell a lot more. I would say we sell more like floor mats, accessory type items, whereas your eBay is more hard parts. Parts, mechanics are going in there and looking for specific parts. Whereas on Amazon, you're getting a lot more of your accessories. And then, of course, our website, we're getting a mix of both.
Yeah, and that's what we really find across the base too on the three channels. Like Amazon tends to be a lot more accessory focused. eBay is really good for hard parts, and a lot of obsolete parts too. Our dealers have success with listing on eBay, and then web store has that's everything.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the most important e-commerce KPIs. So obviously KPIs are important to track your performance across various channels. Common KPIs for e-commerce are total revenue, like the amount of money you're actually bringing in, your gross profit margin. And then I put fulfillment speed in here because that's very important to get return customers and have happy people, because once you pay for them, you want to bring them back as a repeat customer. And then just targeting the right margins to increase volume, kind of helps you hit these key KPIs. Are these in line with the KPIs that your guys are currently tracking?
Yeah, absolutely. Total revenue is obviously, who doesn't want revenue, right? So we always track revenue. We always track gross profit. We want to see how much we're retaining at the end of the day, and fulfillment speed. We always want to make sure we try to fulfill it as fast as possible. But yeah, your return buyers are going to see a very quick turnaround, and they're going to want to buy more, which is what you want ultimately.
Do you guys have a fulfillment speed goal, like how quickly you want to fulfill an order after it comes in?
So that's an interesting question. Prior to going into Amazon and eBay, we didn't know that there was specific turnaround time frames that they needed. That's what they use as their metric for us to even sell on the channel. After learning that, obviously one of the main things that we did was try to fulfill that. But we've always tried to complete our orders the day that we get them, either if not that day, the very next day, which helps because at times you might have to pull a part from the factory or order a part. So we try to do it immediately, if not within a couple hours. And if we have to order it as soon as it arrives the next day, we try to then fulfill that order and put it in our workflow.
Yeah, that's what we usually recommend on fulfillment speed. People are used to shopping on Amazon and eBay, and that next to level service. Amazon has kind of become known for getting you a package within 3 days, sometimes the same day. So we're a very impatient society. So fulfilling stuff quickly helps encourage additional customers to come back. When talking about margins, like over the counter versus e-commerce margin, is there a difference in pricing when you're selling over the counter versus selling online? And if so, how do you manage that difference?
That's a great question. When we were initially starting out, that was one of the sticking points. That was one of those hard I guess, J curves for the team to overcome. We absolutely do have two different pricing points. Online is going to be, online sales. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to have less margins, right? Because we're trying to sell to not only people within our own PMA and our own area, but we're also trying to sell to people in different states. So we have to be competitive there. Also, because we're selling on the different marketplaces, be it Amazon or eBay, they see their margins there, and those guests might walk through the door because they see us. So with the guest that walks through the door and just wants to buy something through our brick and mortar right here at our counter, we're going to initially give them the rate that we have, for all of our guests, our retail sales rate. If they say, hey, I saw this on eBay, Amazon, or on our own website, at that point, we'll just match that price and then, tell them that we'll honor it. And there you go. And what we're finding is that, yes, we do have a lot of guests who don't necessarily know that. Let's say they're not, all guests are savvy, but there are some that are savvier, right? And they're looking for the best deal. So for those guests who are looking for the best deal, they're going to be drawn to my dealer, and they're going to come in and they're going to want to buy their parts from us because they saw the part, the price, and they just want to come in and get it here. And we'll honor that. We're not going to make them jump through hoops. We're just going to tell them, okay, where'd you see it? We find it, we honor it, and then they leave happy. And what ends up happening is they become repeat guests because they know that they can find that part here, and we're not going to give them a hard time. Now, if the guest is coming through the door and they just, say, I need this, then they're going to get the regular rate. And if they don't mention, hey, I found it on Amazon, eBay, or their site, then we're just going to offer them our retail sales rate. Of course, we have discounts that they can use, be it AAA, senior, military, things like that, but it would be a different discount rate. So we're able to keep more margins on that. But again, overall, it's about making it simple in this day and age where people can go in and find what they're looking for and know exactly what they want and feel confident they're going to be able to find it with a person at the other end of the counter that's going to help them complete the sale with a smile, which is what my team tries to do every day.
Yeah, and the over-the-counter has probably traditionally been that volume game, and e-commerce is traditionally, over-the-counter has been the margin game, where e-commerce has been the total volume and the gross profit range. Just curious, have you guys noticed, like, over the past 3 years or so, like, is your over-the-counter business growing at like a rate equal to your e-commerce business's growth, or is over-counter kind of slowing down a little bit compared to e-commerce?
No, it is growing, and it's growing because of, again, the way we wanted to go about it, which is don't give people a hard time. Just they saw it, they came here. Thank you. Let's go ahead and take care of the guests. You look at they talk about Best Buy. Most people used to walk into Best Buy to get their electronic needs, and they would walk in and speak to a representative, and they were told what they needed. Now everyone goes online. They know what they're going to find online, and they walk in to just pretty much pick up their part or electronic. We're doing the same thing. Even restaurants are doing the same thing, curbside, things like that. When this whole pandemic happened, that's when it really kicked off, and a lot of people really started, seeing us the same way as they would see, all those other stores that are doing the same similar things. So our retail has gone up just as much as our e-commerce has.
Cool. And in terms of determining e-commerce margins, I think you mentioned a few of these things. So obviously you need to determine your pricing for your online channels, your Amazon, your eBay, your web store. But there's also additional, profit centers with selling online. First, of course, is that staff savings, because you're typically just picking and fulfilling orders. People go to the website, Amazon, eBay, knowing what they want, being able to find the part they need. And then the site typically too will do the upsell or tell them the related items that they may want to add on. And then also shipping for a lot of our customers actually is a profit center. So typically a markup on shipping is in the 10% range, and our dealers will use that to bake in some additional margin on their e-commerce orders. Could you talk to those three things just a little bit, Gerardo?
Sure. The pricing matrix by parts channel. We just do an across the board markup for whatever we're going to sell, and we typically use your guys' actual recommendations on what we should be selling those at. So we kind of use those recommendations as our benchmark, and then we play with it here and there. But each one is kind of based off of what we sell there. As far as saving staffing, yeah, we've added an additional body to help us with our process here and there. What we want to see is we want that quick turnaround, and we want to make sure that we're able to get these parts out sooner. So, and then that gives us help, because as our retail counter grows, our e-commerce grows, and we have enough bodies that we can plug in place to help support both areas of our business, to make sure that both our e-commerce customers and our retail or brick and mortar, the people who walk in the door, that those customers are also being handled and fulfilled. And as far as shipping, yeah, we do definitely see a lot of shipping where we're making a few dollars here and there. Of course, there's one where you're going to lose a little bit, but it all evens out in the end. If not, we come out ahead.
Yeah, and that's a good point too on the pricing matrix. That's one of the things we really do help clients with here at Revolution Parts, is determining, the best price for selling each part at. We've done a lot of testing to see like where you can get the most volume, versus the most profit at what price point. So we have pricing recommendations, I think, for every part across every manufacturer catalog. So it really helps you get off the ground a lot quicker when you don't have to go in and test that pricing yourself. So talking to your boss about margins, this is a topic that comes up, I know, a lot of times with new dealers and parts managers. How do you talk to your boss who might be in that like traditional like standpoint of looking at the profit margin versus like just the gross, the gross revenue that you're bringing in?
Well, I can tell you that I was very fortunate to have a GM who he wanted to get into this business, right? He wanted to sell more on e-commerce because he saw the way the future was going. So I didn't necessarily have to initiate this conversation with my GM, but I can tell you that I did have to have this conversation with my director or some of the managers when I first came on board, because the idea is that you want to keep as much margins as possible. And when you sell something online, you're selling it for, much less margins. And that's kind of hard for people to swallow. But over time, what you'll find, and again, it's that initial hurdle, once you get through there, you got to look at the big picture. You got to look at what you're trying to accomplish. You want your customers to want to come through your door. You want them to feel comfortable knowing that you're in whatever platform they're going to be looking for their parts, be it eBay, Amazon, your own website where they can get it delivered to them. They want to be able to feel comfortable coming through the door and spending money with you, and sometimes knowing exactly what they're going to spend before they come in and get hit with a price quote from the front counter. And then, of course, getting your team ready to support those guests and help make that sale. Once you see that and you look at, yes, you're selling it for smaller margins, but you got to look at it in terms of this. You're driving business to your dealer, and those people who weren't using this platform to come to your dealer are now going to use this platform to come to your dealer. So you're going to be able to retain that sale. And then when you're selling to people in different states that you normally would not have sold to, again, you're actually making a sale and getting some gross off of that, as opposed to making no sale and making no gross off of that. So again, you make 0% of what you don't sell. So what we want to do is we want to, again, be in our customer's wheelhouse, be it online, be it in person, be it over the phone, and whatever channel they're using, we want them to make sure that they know that we're here. And again, we want that repeat business. So initially it is a hard sell, but towards the end, once you start seeing all the positives with driven sales, people walking through the door, and making more sales and repeat sales on your sites, then it'll make sense.
That's a really interesting point. I didn't think of that. And I mean, I'm not as involved in this as you two, but the fact that it was getting the staff to buy in, almost like, the boss, that was a different set of people that you had to convince that this was good, and that you had to kind of change some of that old methodology. That's a really interesting comment.
That's probably the hardest thing that we had to overcome. It had to have been, because people want to retain margins. And again, you got to look at how you're compensating your team. What is their pay plan? Is their pay plan or is their compensation tied to a growth matrix? And can you show them that they're going to make more money, or can you make it so that they're not going to be hurt by what you're trying to do in the department as a whole? Like I said, I had a GM that was very, very attuned to that. So we made sure that we did not hurt our team with what we wanted to do. We made sure that we didn't burden our team too much. Of course, there were different things that they had to learn, but in the end, everybody came along and everyone's happy with the outcome because, again, it isn't just coming in and waiting for people to come in. I mean, they're having phone calls, people are walking in, and of course, we're also selling, and we have a team that can help support that too. And it's just overall, it's great because it's coming out of the dealer and the team as a whole.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the other thing, I think you touched on it a little bit too, is, not just on, the making money side from the parts department, but by, pricing, in market, like giving, good pricing to people, you kind of change some of that perception and people start to think of the dealer as being, very price aggressive. And you also like introduce like additional touch points for potential customers that could maybe one day be a car customer or something. So it's really a brand building exercise a little bit too. So by getting your parts out there and selling more parts, you're making more people aware of your dealership and increasing the chance they come back to your dealership in the future to maybe purchase something in addition to parts. So
yeah, we had a lot of people who would, we had actually a lot of people who, or a lot of customers who will say stuff like, I was going to go with an aftermarket, but then, I saw that I can get your product for around the same price, so I'd rather go with OEM. I hear that all the time. So we're starting to win over some of those customers who are going aftermarket for the cheaper pricing. Well, now they know they can actually find it at an OEM price, and that's good.
Yep. So maximizing profits through volume, I want to talk about that a little bit. So volume is obviously the key in selling online to maximizing gross revenue. There's really, I think, three kind of key ways to get that volume moving. One is obviously you need to put marketing spend behind what you're trying to sell online. Two, you have to have competitive pricing. And three, you have to do what's necessary to drive repeat customers. Typically, that's good communication, quick fulfillment, things of that nature. We actually find that repeat customers spend almost twice as much and they don't cost you anything to acquire after you got them the first time. So it's really important to get repeat customers coming back. Could you talk, Gerardo, about what you guys are doing in terms of like marketing? I think we've already covered competitive pricing, repeat customers a little bit.
Yeah, marketing, we actually use the marketing tools with Revolution. So we do a little bit of ad spend there to generate or actually to gear those guests over to us via, pay-per-click. We were using different companies to try and get our pay-per-click. But again, unless you know how to market to the automotive world, then we weren't finding very much success there. Now, they know how to market for cars and things of that nature, but not necessarily parts. So we do have some ad spend with Revolution Parts to market our parts specifically in our parts site. And since we've done that, we've seen an increase in our sales on our own website, which is ideally what we want, because we don't want to pay fees to Amazon and eBay if we don't have to. And that way we can control the communication. We can also control the, everything there, and we can, get these return guests.
Awesome. And then how volume leads to success. So high volume obviously makes lower margins work because you have higher net profits. One of the things that a lot of the dealers we work with also get is manufacturer kickbacks when they, can sell a certain amount of parts. That also helps, increase the margins a little bit. And then you expand your reach. I think you touched on this where, you're getting sales that you normally wouldn't get if you weren't offering the parts into those markets outside of your local. And then brand awareness. Anything you want to add around that, Gerardo?
No, I want to say that those key points are the key points when it comes to my business model, right? I want to make sure that I, can get all of these, expand our reach, our brand awareness. I want people to know that they can get their parts here from us and that they can come back to us for their parts needs. And in terms of like kickbacks, I don't see too much with our manufacturer, but they do have something in terms of like, giving us the ability to send things back once we hit a certain volume. So that makes it easier. And then of course, in the end, higher net profits. That's ideally what we all want.
Awesome. We also put a guide together for the audience, the Parts Manager's Pricing Guide to Maximize Gross Profit. I believe it's attached to this webinar, so you guys can download that and help guide you in your pricing strategies for online. That's all we have today. Is there any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I just want to interject. If it's not attached to the broadcast for some reason, we'll make sure that it's available when we send the recording out. So you'll have kind of multiple ways to get that. And this has been really helpful. We've had a few come in, and I want to ask a couple. First of all, Gerardo, give us an idea of how much. I think we talked about it in your bio when we marketed this, but talk to us about how much revenue you're generating from parts in the course of a year, and kind of where you've taken the department to where it is now.
Well, let's take a look. So from where we were to where we are, that's a huge gap. So let's say in 2018, we probably did around 229,000 on our online sales. And then about 2020, again, that's when we first started. And again, we ramped up, we slowly added as we felt like we could, right? We first started off with one channel, added another channel, went through the hurdles, the J curves, went to another channel. So I think we ended up at around, 1.2 mil.
That's impressive.
So we jumped up quite a bit, and it's obviously different by channel.
That's impressive. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
From having nothing to having something. Obviously, it makes a huge difference.
And everyone has a different growth curve, obviously. I mean, it depends on how quick you want to go, how many channels you want to target. Some guys will come in and just start with like an Amazon or an eBay because like the volume's there, and they use those channels to kind of like define their processes and get in the flow of how to fulfill online orders. And then they start to add in their web store and the marketing where they really control more of it. And then they already have those predefined processes. I'd say our average dealer in their first year is getting like around 30K a month typically, after 4 or 5 months. And some are much more successful. We had some guys that get to 100K by month 6, and some that go beyond that as well.
That's great. So I've got a question around, so much is made. I mean, eBay has a filter for it. Amazon has a filter for free shipping, Prime, things like that. You mentioned the margin that can be made in shipping. Do you find that you have to compete with dealers doing for free shipping, or do these customers, is that a concern to them? Is that a something that they're looking forward to, or not yet, or not at all?
So I guess I'll take this one. When it comes to Amazon, for Amazon, they don't see a dealer. They see a product. When they jump on Amazon, they don't know that they're getting it from, some of them, the guests don't know that they're getting it from Longo Toyota. So the goal is to try and be on that buy box where they want a product, they see a price, they go buy, and it gives them a date that it's going to arrive. So in that sense, yes, we are competing with other places, because in order for us to get that, to be the dealer or the retailer that's on that buybacks, we either have to reduce our sales on our product or reduce our shipping in order for us to show up there. So we are competing with them. But in most cases, let's say they have 2 or 3 items, their 2 or 3 items are sold, and then it rolls over to mine, and then I'll sell mine. So that's kind of the way I see it. That's why I want to, when it comes to free shipping, I can't compete with that, because I'm not going to send things free. That's where in Amazon, when they have the fulfillment centers, they can take that sale. That's fine, because I would rather retain the gross profit that I have and not lose money on the shipping, because at that point you're giving it away, and that's not what you want either. The goal is to make money.
I would say most, a high percent of most, a lot are actually charging for shipping through the platform. And I think consumers have become a little more intelligent over the years. Like it used to be, if you saw free shipping, you're like, oh, wow, it's free. I think now what you're really looking at as a consumer, though, is the total price, because there's plenty of instances where it's free shipping, but what they're really doing is they're just baking the cost of shipping into the price of the product. So the end cost is higher with the free shipping option. So you really want to just look at the total cost when you're, charging your shipping and you're charging your product and making sure you're competitive from like a total cost perspective.
Here's a question from Art. He says, and this is a really good question, any suggestions on how to handle clients in for service asking for discounts on parts based on what they've seen on the website?
Yeah, we get that, and we had that. That was one of those J curves. Yeah, I mean, we handle it the same way that we handle it in our parts retail area. If someone is savvy enough to find those and say, that is our online pricing, that is geared to, support those guests where we're shipping their parts to them, but we'd be more than happy to honor that pricing for you, and then we'll go ahead and make those pricing adjustments. Because if you do not make the pricing adjustment, then you're upsetting your guests. They may walk away from you and may not come back to you. So what you want to do is when you have that guest who does recognize that, then we'll help them. We'll give them the pricing that they see, and then guess what? Everyone's happy. Well, they're happy, and we still made the sale. The guests still got their service done, and they walked out of there saying, wow, I just found that, and that's great. You just want to make sure that your team is not, your service team is not using this as a discount tool. And that's a managerial part where the managers have to go in there, because it's like you want to make sure that they are not using this as a way to give discounts. So it has to be shown. They have to say a certain thing, and then maybe have a little checks and balance in place.
Yeah, one of the things we do too to try to prevent that a little bit is we have the website that we do for dealers to sell parts on. Typically, the parts website is separate from the dealer website. And on the dealer website, we have a thing called a website plugin. So it's basically like a module you can put on your dealer site, and you can have specific pricing for that module on your dealer site. And then your parts website, which is for your nationwide customers, is actually a separate entity that lives by itself, separate from the dealer site. So to try to you'd have to find the dealer's parts website and then be at the dealer. Like if you're just at the dealer and hop on the website, you're typically going to get the plugin, which has the standard retail pricing on it.
So here's a question that maybe you might not know the answer to. I want to kind of tweak it a little bit. Hope we can get what you need, Gianluca. But the question is, why not just include the shipping cost into the total cost to get the badge quick and free on eBay, or to say that it includes shipping? Has anybody done A/B testing on this? Is there any? Do you have any insights on which way is the better way to do this, or is this something that that you recommend the dealer try to A/B test and kind of see what they can find out?
So, I mean, we've done a lot of testing with Amazon and eBay. It's probably a topic for a whole nother webinar about winning the buy box on Amazon. So there's a lot of criteria that go into winning the buy box. It's your Amazon has a set, I forget the number of criteria. I think it's 5 criteria or so, but it's competitive pricing. It's customer satisfaction. It's order fulfillment speed. And there's a couple other items, and it's flexible too, that buy box. Just because you have it one day doesn't mean you have it forever. Someone can come up and take it from you if you kind of fall off a little bit. So yeah, it's just important to meet those criteria and to win that buy box on Amazon, because obviously if you're not in that buy box, the amount of sales you're going to get is going to decline significantly.
Yeah, then it becomes an idea, or actually it becomes about do you really necessarily want that sale? You know, you may not want to sell at the, you know, you don't want to play in that sandbox when it comes to certain sales, because that I'd rather not make that sale. Again, I wasn't making that sale before, and I don't necessarily want to make that sale now if it's going to hurt me. So sometimes it's not about always getting the buy box. Sometimes, again, if they have 3 items that they're selling at that discounted rate, they sell their 3 items, and then hopefully I'm going to be the guy that's on that buy box. And then they'll sell it at my rate, and I can make the sale at the gross profit that I'm comfortable with.
It's actually a
I
great
would,
position to be operating into this, almost like it's like all net new, right? It's like it's different than if you're competing on the showroom floor with customers and everybody has the same and they're all in the same market and you have, you lose them, they gain them. In this instance, it's I don't want to say it's bonus for you because you've been doing it for long enough that it's expected, but it's net new business.
Yeah.
So what were you
Yeah,
going to
you're
say, Mike?
absolutely right.
I was going to say, Mike, I think I cut you off. What were you going to say?
oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, in general on Amazon, like if you wanted like an answer, we typically do recommend free shipping on Amazon for the buy box. I don't know if I answered that directly enough for you, but yeah, typically we would recommend it, but it's a seller thing where if you decide to not do free shipping, or if you do free shipping, you increase the price of the product a little bit. So, I mean, net is it's free shipping, but is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more question I'd like to and kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent. And then if anybody else has any questions, feel free to chime in. This has been fun. Maybe you're going to tell me you don't have any, but let's talk about obsolete parts. You mentioned that. What are you finding the margins on obsolete parts? Are you getting better margins because nobody has them, or is it that you just want to get them out of here? You're discounting them.
I don't necessarily have too much of an issue with our obsolete parts. I have a manufacturer. I'm a Toyota manufacturer, with Toyota. So they have a really good program for us when it's in terms of like sending back parts. I know other manufacturers make it a little more difficult, or they have different parameters when it comes to sending back their parts. The only thing I can say is, typically we don't have too much. Our on hand and our ability to get parts and source parts is pretty good. When we do have an obsolete part, then we were talking about how eBay, a lot of people that are on eBay know exactly what they're looking for. That's when you'll start to see a few more sales on eBay, because even as a manufacturer, when I'm talking, or actually as a dealer, when I'm talking to guests on the phone and I don't have their part, I'll tell them, hey, you can try and source it through either eBay or through, aftermarkets. So I'll even point them to eBay. So we do retain some of that, and we will sell some of our OpSol on there. But like I said, we don't have too much of an issue when it comes to OpSol at my dealer personally. So I wish I could answer that better, but that's the answer I have.
Awesome. Well, Mike, Gerardo, thank you so much. This has been good. I think you've answered a lot of questions that dealers have to think through when they're starting to figure out, do I want to do this type of a system, and pricing was obviously a big one. So you've got the guide. We'll make sure that everybody gets, and thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it. There is John Luca wants to know, he wants, yeah. So I think we are kind of talking about this when we're saying, look, I you're saying that you would increase the price on Amazon to be able to say free shipping. And it might be channel by channel, but you're just raising the price. So you're coming out with the zero at the end, right? You're not paying for the shipping, customer's paying for the shipping, but you're charging more for the part. And I think it's just an A/B test from the dealer on which one's more effective. Like, is it better to have a cheaper price with the shipping? I mean, and add shipping, or is it better to do the total thing? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I can give you my experience. On eBay, when we initially started, we marked up our price to include the shipping. So there is, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a tool that would generate the shipping cost, and it would increase your part by that value. So that when you sold it, it included the shipping. So yes, we said free shipping, but the shipping was baked into the price. So that was there. The guest didn't know either, that it wasn't there, or that they were paying for it. But we've since turned that off, because we just want to be upfront with them, show them like, this is the price of the product and this is the shipping. It created less headaches for us, for myself, for our dealer personally, because then you get those messages where people say, hey, I found this part somewhere else for this amount. So at this point, it's just cards on the table. This is the product. This is what it's going to cost to ship to you. Do you want to purchase it from us? And the guest makes the conscious decision to do that. So that's why we personally don't do that. But there's it's a business model. How are you going to want to use it?
Awesome, guys.
Sorry,
Well,
Mike. I
thank
hope
you
I
so
didn't
much.
steal your thunder. I don't know if you want to add
No.
anything to that.
You covered it all pretty much. I have nothing to add. I mean, yeah, I would say, like I said, most dealers that I talk to are actually charging shipping. And it's more, transparent when they have the shipping on there. Amazon's a little bit different, I think, but like on their web store and on eBay, like they are doing the shipping. You can roll it in. And we've worked with a lot of dealers on that to figure out what's most effective. So it's a point by point type case.
All right. Well, I think that covers everything. Gerardo, thanks for joining us. It's always good and refreshing when we have someone from a dealership on these. And Mike, thanks for the insight. I think it's been really helpful.
Cool. Hey, appreciate it, guys.
It was my pleasure. Good luck, guys.
Thanks. And we hope to see everybody on future webinars. Thanks a lot.